All right then, so let's go ahead and start writing the customized styles for your header. So, right, so inside here, I need to bring the header, right? So I'm gonna create myself a header. So this header, it's not yet been created. So inside the components folder, I'm gonna create a new file called header.tsx, right? And for this, I'm just going to say RAFC, and I'm going to make sure this is as a header, and I'm going to mark this as a client component, use client, right? Export, we are exporting it in the named export, right? Like this, named import. Now I can see my header over there. So let me get into the header. So for the header, what we are going to do is, so header, let's bring it as a header tag itself, header. For this, I'm going to fix the some class name, which is going to occupy the width as full, and of course it's going to have the border bottom, right? And it's going to have a smooth transitions, and the transitions all, it's going to be something like this, ease in, out, right? Then for this, I'm going to fix the height as 16, something like this. Now I should able to see something, right? So inside here, I'm gonna have some text, something like logo and all those things. Right now, if I stretch this into entire screen, my header is being pushed, right? So what I need to do is, if it is a too large screen, I need to always make sure it should not expand to the certain limit, right? It should not cross after certain pixels. So in order to do that, what I can do is, I'm gonna wrap this as a container, right? Once it reaches the 1500 pixels something, it should not go beyond outside of it. So in order to do that, I'm gonna create myself a custom reusable component called container.tsx and mark this as a client component, use comp client and RAFC, which is going to be the container, right? And for this container, I'm going to create an interface container props, open it, which is going to render the children's inside in it, and that is going to be the react node itself. Then I'm going to have the custom class name. User can customize it with the from outside of this component itself, which is going to be optional, right? Well, this is a compulsory prop and this is an optional prop. Even if you're not supplying, it should work, right? And for this container, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to destructure it, those props over here. Let's bring those props and destructure those props, children and the class name, right? And for this class name, let's use this cn function. So basically this function is coming from utils function, which is nothing but it's using this Tailwind merge, which helps us to combine the Tailwind classes together, right, based on the conditional based styles. So I'm going to use that function. So here I'm going to supply the common styles, which is going to be the container provided by the Tailwind CSS itself. Now the reason why we are using this container, it's because if you check it out, this container, you can see it's going to fix the container maximum width. What are the maximum width it's going to be? So the maximum width is going to be 1536 pixels. It's not going to push beyond that, right? Then mx margin should be automatically aligned. Then padding px, it's going to be 4, and medium devices onwards px, it's going to be 8, and padding top and bottom, it's going to be 4, and width always should be full. And then along with that, join the class name, whatever the class name I supplied to this particular container, right? And inside here, I'm going to render this children. And then I'm going to wrap this into the container, which is coming from /container, right? And make sure this is coming from @/ component / container. That would be perfect. And inside here now, if I use header, and even if I'm expanding it, you can see it is not allows the content should expand beyond that. So that's the reason we are putting it inside the container, right? Now inside this container, now we can start writing the styles and everything, all right? let's bring the inside this container. What are the things that we need to do? I'm going to create myself a div which is going to be a class name, which is going to be flex item center, and gap everything is going to be 4, and of course it's going to take the entire width should be 4. And inside here I'm going to bring the logo container. Then I need to bring the other sections. Basically inside this other section we are going to keep the menu container, and we're going to keep the profile container. Both of them needs to be inside here, right? So let's go ahead and bring ourselves the logo container, right? So this logo container, of course it's going to be a custom component, so let's go ahead and create that. So logo container.tsx, and here mark this as a client component. Use client RAFC, and let's make this as the logo container, right? Let's bring this and let's import it over here, logo container. That's it. So make sure that it's been coming from the add components folder. Perfect. Now we should able to see the logo container, right? So let's search for logo. So I'm going to use the logo Ipsum. It's a public logo page where you can download the logo for free, right? So I'm going to copy this particular logo from there. I'm going to download the SVG, and I'm going to bring this SVG into our folder, into the public folder and into the images folder. Put it inside and then name this as the logo.svg. Close this, and inside the logo container I'm going to bring that logo.svg. Delete this, and I'm going to bring this image, next image, and I'm going to bring the source for it, src, which is basically going to come from /assets/svg/logo.svg. then alternative, which is going to be the logo. Then it should be it should have the width as 40, height as well as 40. Then class name needs to be object contain. It should show the entire width and the entire look and feel of the image logo completely. Then it should be the prioritized image. It should load much faster. So now if I check it out, if I save it, and you should be able to see the logo instantly over there. See? Perfect. So the images, it's been loaded perfectly over there. That is what we needed, right? Logo, we have ourselves our logo, and I think that size, it's moreover, it's perfect. If you wanted to make it a little bit bigger as well as, you can do that. Then inside here, now what we are going to do is basically we are going to bring ourselves the custom routes, right? So let's go ahead and create ourselves the custom route. So this section, I'm going to create one more section, class name, which is going to be margin left auto, and in between this is the place where we are going to bring the menu, where you should be able to see that menu. Yes. Now if I don't give this margin left auto, see what's happening. See, it is over here, right? So this entire section needs to be pushed completely to the right side, and inside this only we are going to bring that toggle button and all those things for displaying the content and everything. Okay, so let's go ahead and create ourselves that component. So now what we can do is okay, so I'm gonna say this is going to be navigational routes component. Okay, so let's go ahead and create that navigational routes component. Let's say navigational routes dot tsx, and then let's mark this as a client. Use client RAFC. Let's say navigational routes. Let's bring it over here, and that is should be rendered over there. Okay, and make sure that is been coming from the add components. That should be proper input, right? So that's the reason. All right, So now we have ourselves the navigational route. So let me close this logo container, it's not necessary. And let me close this layout. Okay. And the page itself also, it's not necessary for the time being. Close it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself the routes inside the utils library folder. I'm going to create a new file called library or helpers.ts. Inside here, I'm just going to create export const main routes equals to open it. Okay, inside this, I'm gonna bring the route name home href, which is going to be slash. Then let's create the label, which is going to be okay. So basically the label and href, these are the things, right? So what I need to do is I'm going to create one more folder to define the types. Inside here I'm going to bring one more index.html file name called index.ts, and here I'm just going to say export interface route navigational route. Let's keep it as a navigational route. Okay, so which is going to be, it's going to have a label which is going to be a string, and it's going to have the href, that is also going to be the type of string. This is the type. And here I'm going to create export const. In the helpers, I'm going to create a navigational navigational routes, or you can simply say main routes. Keep it simple as that, main routes, which is going to be the type of this navigational. I think I exported it from here. Yes, copy this from the types, import it. It should be array of navigational routes object equals to open an array and then break it as an object, and we need to supply the label. So label, which is going to be a string, right, which is not an optional, which is compulsory. It should be a home. Then I need to supply the href, which that's also going to be slash. Just like the same way, I can keep on add the label, which is going to be services or something, which we don't have that yet, but maybe in future you can include it slash services. Just like the same way, you can keep and add the routes. All right, home services, and here I can simply say contact us, and here I can simply say about us, and this is going to be the contact, and this is going to be the about. So this is the routes that we wanted it, right? So let's close this index and the helpers, and inside the navigational route, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure create a props for it. Interface navigational routes props, open it. I'm going to make sure whether it is loading on the mobile or not. So this is going to be an optional parameter. It's equals to, and it's going to be a Boolean value, right? And I'm going to make sure it's going to destructured over here, navigational routes props, and inside here is mobile, and by default it is going to be false. If I don't supply it, by default the values, it's going to be false. Then I'm going to change this into a nav tag, and I'm going to bring some class styles and everything, right? So what I'm going to do is, so here so I'm going to use this cn function, use the cn. We need to write this customized style. Okay, so instead of keeping the nav tag over here, I can wrap this inside a nav. Then I can keep the routes alone inside here. So this is basically, it's going to be an unordered list, something like that. And I can save this as well as. So this place I can define the styles for it. So this needs to be hidden for the small screens, but from the medium devices onwards, it needs to be flex, item center, and gap. Everything needs to be 4, something like this, right? And inside this UL tag, this is the place where we are going to have some custom styles and everything. So class name, and I'm going to use the CN function. Open it. By default, it is going to be in a row direction. So flex, item center, and justify everything into be the center, and the gap between it's going to be 6. But from, if it is mobile device, it's true, then I'm going to change this into flex column direction. And okay, so the main idea of creating this is because, so we're going to use the same component, the same tags on the mobile devices, for the mobile devices, and as well as for the big screens, right? So by default on the big screens, it's going to be in a row direction, but when it comes to the mobile devices, it is going to be in the flex column direction. So you might wonder how we are defining the mobile. So I'm gonna, just like the same way, I just hidden this particular one on the mobile devices. So for the mobile devices, as for the same thing, I'm going to use the same component. So you will understand by the time. Okay, so just try to follow up over here. So everything needs to be in the starting point. So item should be start, and justify everything needs to be start, and the rest of the styles, everything is going to be the same. Close it. And inside this UL tag, I'm going to bring this main routes, and I'm going to map through it, open it. Then I'm going to extract one by one route out of it. Then I'm going to break it, and I'm going to render it inside here. I'm going to render this nav link. Oh, sorry, not nav link. I'm going to bring this link tag. Next link. And this is going to be key. Supply the key. Key is going to be route dot href itself. That is going to be unique. And here I'm going to supply 2. Or href, yes, href, it's going to be route.href, and I'm going to display the label route.label itself. Save it, and now you should be able to see the home, services, contact us, and about us. Now we need to highlight the active route, right? So in order to highlight the active route, I'm just going to get the path name. Path name is equals to use path name from next navigation. Make sure it is coming from next navigation, and I'm going to say use the class name. So class name, I'm going to use the CN property. So by default, the styles and everything is going to be, text should be in the base size, and text neutral, it should be on 500, something like this, or we can keep it as 600. Okay, something like that. And font should be we need to have some wider space, tracking wider, so something like that. Okay, but if the path name is strictly equals to route.href, in that situation I just need to make sure font as a semi bold, and the text color needs to be text neutral 800. Now you should be able to see the home screen alone, it's looking different, right? It's looking a little bit highlighted. The reason is because that's the active route. That's why it is showing like that, right? Perfect. So the active route is also working perfectly as we expected, right? Perfect. Home page, it's everything is done, right? So this is the navigational routes. And now if you look at here, if I minimized it, it is not going to be displayed because this nav tag, it is not going to be displayed on the mobile devices onwards. So for that situation, I need to bring, right after here, I need to bring the profile section, and as the way I need to bring the toggle section as well. As these, both of them needs to be there, right? So let's go ahead and fix the profile section first, then we can worry about the toggle section, which means the toggle container for the mobile screens, right? So let's go ahead and finish our profile section now.